Robert Ward is my name. I'm the Marketing Director here at the National College of Ireland. And on behalf of the College, you're very welcome here. Don't forget, #GoFurther with NCI. We're delighted to partner with Independent News and Media. We're also then going to hear from Paul Melia, who's the Environment Editor at I&M, and he's going to talk to us about how data is being used to provide content and also to drive circulation at I&M.
I cover, I guess, the really dull but worthy stuff that newspapers have to cover. I cover pipes, I cover energy, I cover water, I cover climate change. There is more and more data becoming available in these areas that we can use to shape our editorial content. We deal with data every single day. We process information from a wide variety of sources. I'm going to talk about three major projects that we've done in the last year or so in The Independent, using data to tell stories, I guess, in a different way. The first one I'm going to talk about is Crime Nation, which we carried in November last year. The second is probably the biggest data project we ever did, which was the election 2014 coverage. And the third project is the Rent Report, something we did a little bit more recently, where we looked at the cost of renting in Ireland. 1 in 7 people, about 1 in 5 households, currently rent their homes. It's a huge issue. Rents are rising. We looked at how much people were actually paying in around 400 locations around the country. There is no clear picture out there as to what the average rent is. To date, these averages tend to be gleaned from information from daft.ie and other property websites, which is based on the market, the asking price in the market. We used a different source. We used data on actual rents paid as recorded by the Private Residential Tenancies Board in its National Rent Index. There is, I think, about 800,000 tenancies or so registered, so it's a robust source of information. What this allowed us to do really was to get the most common house types. The ESRI also had data on that. So that was a 3-bed semi-D and a 2-bed apartment. In the cities, we also used a third metric, the most common type of property that was rented. And that basically allowed us to say, here's the average rent across the country, here's what you're paying in your area, here's what the average is. So it allowed people to gauge if they were paying too much or too little. We used this interactive tool here where you could go in and you could actually click down, you could figure out in your town how much the average prices were. That was very useful. It got quite a lot of traffic online. What we found with this was that in large homes in parts of Dublin, the average rent was $2,300 a month, but you could get a similar size property in other counties for $450, so quite a big discrepancy there. It showed the most expensive average rent across the country was nearby here in Grand Canal Square, which was at €1,950 per month. I guess the conclusions really, I'll come to that. The key to all of this is that in terms of storytelling, using data is nothing new. Things have changed an awful lot. There's much more data out there. It's much more accessible. We can do more with it, particularly online. And there certainly is more collaboration, I think, going on between the traditional old school journalists and the data scientists who are now working with us as well. So official data really should be better than that. And that's something we just all have to keep an eye on over the coming years. That's me. You're going to hear from Mitchell now, who's going to speak about advertising. And thanks very much for your attention.